Okay.
You're good.
I'm good? Okay.
Yeah.
So good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for joining us for our the most recent in our series of business resource luncheons. Today, we have a very special session, which is sponsored by Mental Health Connecticut, and our presenter today is Remy Kiek. She's been part of the team at Mental Health Connecticut for 27 years, starting as a residential case manager. Remy worked her way up to program manager, director, vice president, chief program officer, and is now Mental Health Connecticut's chief experience officer. Remy continues to bring her enthusiasm and passion for this work to the team. Remy has a bachelor's in psychology and a master's in marriage and family therapy. So welcome, Remy, and Ruth, who is also helping us facilitate today. So I am going to just turn it over to Remy.
Great, and good afternoon, everybody. It's great to be here on this beautiful day, and it's been nice chatting with you and getting to know everybody. So I want to join the chamber, and thank you for having this today. Yeah, guys, I mean, this has been quite a period of time, and I'm sure we can use many different words and terms to describe it, but I think at the end of the day, there's a collective understanding that things are not the same. We are moving towards over the hump towards the tail end, but we're not there yet. And I think that we can all agree that through this period of time, there's many, just many emotions and trials and tribulations, but also some beautiful things that have happened. So I'm really hoping today that we can have a discussion. I'm going to throw out some information, obviously, and review it with you. But if we can, let's all add in what some of our experiences are and maybe even share some ideas, techniques, or things we've done that we think have worked. Okay? Just a little bit about what a chief experience officer is. It is actually a newer term now that's being used. And basically what it means is that all the way from training to community education, so both inside and out, I'm responsible for the experience that people have either being served by Mental Health Connecticut or working for Mental Health Connecticut. So that's a pretty big chunk. I absolutely love it. But Mental Health Connecticut provides services. So we plethora of mental health services ranging from residential to employment to legislative advocacy. So we do residential, we do the advocacy piece. We want to make sure that people that with mental health conditions are getting recognition, and we're going to bat for them to get equal coverage with their insurance companies and better treatment. And again, we also do that community education piece. And that's my all-time favorite part, guys. I love getting out and meeting people. I learned so much, and hopefully you can take some really good ideas away with you today. And at a bare minimum, let's just open up and talk. When is the last time we've taken a nice deep breath, cleared the room, rid ourselves of all distractions, and really checked in? So Chris, I love the fact that you named today's discussion, how you doing, because basically that's what we need to be talking about, you know, and sharing this. This is never in our lifetime. This is going to be what we're telling our grandchildren, or our grandchildren are going to be reading about. It's really funny, everybody. The other day I was with my brother, and I think we were sitting in front of I always want to say Wawa, but that's South Jersey. I was sitting in front of a Cumberland Farms, and he ran in, so I was outside in the car, so it gave me a minute, and I was looking at all the signs, right? And some of them have been curly-cued and rather weathered because they've been up for a while. But there were signs about the social distancing, you know, please remember to keep 6 feet apart. There were signs about capacity. There were signs about wearing a mask. And there were some other signs I'm just not recalling right now, but I thought to myself, I need to be taking pictures of this stuff. This is something I would never have guessed in a million years would occur. I just never even thought of something like this occurring. And I felt like I can look at this as all negative. Sure, it's been a lot of stuff and it's been great challenges and we need to talk. But also, I just can't imagine what people have learned through this time about themselves, about each other, about the community they live in. So anyway, I just wanted to share that experience that I had the other day, but somehow I need to capture this. I don't know if anybody else out there has just taken that moment where it hit you as, wow, this is profound. This is really profound and it's really happening. Anybody else have that kind of experience? I see some heads nodding. Okay. So I'm going to share my slides with you now. We'll move through them. I love to make it an open forum where people can ask questions, make comments. And certainly if you want to hold them, that's fine as well. We'll get to them at the end of today's time together, okay? And then if you guys want to, depending on time, I could also walk you through proper deep breathing, and we could do a small, quick, like 2-minute exercise. We'll see what timing is and interest is, okay? Okay, so let me pull this up.
And I would just like to point out that the attendees do have the ability to mute and unmute themselves, but we
Awesome.
also do have the chat feature enabled. So if you have any questions, feel free.
Yep, absolutely. Okay, here we go. Look at all those beautiful people. Okay. And I wanted to thank you too for inviting me today. Like I said, it's been wonderful to get to know you and just have the opportunity to have this discussion with people. I think is it's amazing and I really enjoy it. So thank you. Oh, Joey Tribbiani, here you go. How you doing? I he never ceases to make me smile, as cheesy as some people think he is when he does it. I just absolutely love it. And I think this is a perfect time to be checking in. So I'm going to
So
move our
Remy,
dialogue box
I'm
a
not
little bit
seeing
out
your
of the way.
screen.
I'm
Is
sorry,
everybody
what?
seeing Remy's screen?
Yep. Is everybody seeing it?
I see it.
Yeah,
I
I
see it.
can't.
I see it.
Yep, I see.
Yep. Chris, do
Weird.
you see it?
I'm not. So
Hmm.
Interesting. Oh, I see
Yeah.
it.
I'm wondering how we can fix that. It says I'm on screen sharing mode. Would you like me to stop the share and reshare and see if that helps, Chris?
let's try it. Yeah, because I just
Okay.
all I see is it says that you are sharing your screen, but I'm not seeing what you're.
Oh. Well, let's see. I'm going to stop sharing and I'll pull it back up. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, and if
Yeah.
everybody else is, then just move forward without me.
Okay. No, we're good. Okay. So, do you see me now, Chris? Full screen?
I see you.
I see
Okay.
you.
Okay. Now we're good.
Chris, I wonder if is it a certain setting? Like, are you the host or?
No.
I'm
Yeah.
the host, and I was able to see it.
Huh.
Huh.
Okay.
And now I see it again. Do you see it, Chris?
Yep.
No, I just see a message that says that Remy's sharing her screen. Don't worry about it. You know what? I have the presentation. I can follow along.
Okay.
That's
If
weird.
there's anything we could do, though, please let me know. Any
Yep. No.
adjustments on my end?
No
Okay.
problem.
So the slide that's up, I know that you'll pull it up, but really talks about our health and that physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual health is really important because of what they're so integral. It's a complete integrated experience. You know, if your physical health and you're not feeling well, it's really, really hard and it detracts and pulls from the way we're feeling energy wise, emotionally, and even spiritually. And that happens across the board. If we're in great physical condition, we're really connected to our spirituality, but we're having a really difficult time with what's going on here mentally, whether we're experiencing depression or dysthymia, which is kind of a low-grade chronic depression, that's going to pull on everybody. It's definitely an integrated experience. And I think, you know, in these past, 3 to 4 months with COVID-19, we've been paying so much attention to our physical health because we do want to stay safe. We want to keep people safe around us and our communities and our children and loved ones. I wanted to take some time to talk about our mental health and feeling that emotional safety and just kind of try to make sense of what it is we're going through. What are we feeling? What are the words we could put to it that really make sense to us and so forth. Okay. Sorry. Just trying to forward. There we go. Okay, so let's check in a little bit. Let me go back. Oh yes, the stress bullets. So let me tell you a little bit about stress. I did a lot of research many years ago, and it was a project that I was working on. And I found out some amazing things about stress. Now, the gentleman, believe it or not, who coined the term stress many, many moons ago, was a scientist by the name of Hans Seal. And he was actually the person that coined the term stress, and which is a term that is all encompassing, because stress can be used to describe your state of mind. I feel stressed today, right? Or I'm under stress today. But stress is also an experience, an internal experience, right? So Hans Seal wanted to know, what does stress do? Like, first of all, we're going to coin it, we're going to name this thing. But what does it do to us? So he used laboratory animals, and he did his control group, his experiment group, and he used rats and mice. And what he did with all of the mice is he put them under what he called in a stressful environment. So for mice, that would be like flashing light or lights that kept going on intermittently, or they would get a small, I wouldn't say painful, but bothersome electrical shock. So the one group just remained under stress. There was nothing, they weren't taught any methods to avert, avoid, or diminish that stress. The other set were taught, as we know, mice and lab rats can be taught, things that they could do to diminish the stress or reduce the stress, such as tapping on a tapping on a lever, which would either turn the flashing light out or keep the shocks from being delivered. So he taught them coping techniques. So what do we think the difference was between the animals that had not learned to cope and the animals that had? Well, the animals that had were shown to have a better spirit. They know that through their movement and the way that they interacted with each other. While the rats that had taught no ways to deal with this stress and no ways to cope with the stress actually changed on a cellular level and began to grow cancerous tumors. Yeah, that's some scary stuff. So we need to be paying homage to this and really recognizing these stress bullets that come at us, sometimes for long periods of time, such as like chronic situations that are going on, or even those little stress bullets that are darting at us throughout the day. And as we know, with the changes that we're experiencing right now and the way we're living our lives, right? The way we're connected or not connected to people right now, even if we are, it's certainly different. I think some people are starting to head back to more face-to-face kinds of things, but some people aren't, and there is no judgment in the way people are living this, right? We cannot judge that. But the changes in our lives are certainly stress bullets. And so what does that look like? What kind of picture does that create for us? It's not a pretty one, guys. You know, we all have that fight or flight response, right? And the other option to that is to become paralyzed or freeze, which is just as stressful. So our bodies are set up to protect ourselves chemically. It's like our mind says, alert, there's something, red flag of flying. I don't know, your boss just said something rude to you, your kids are underfoot, you know, and immediately our brain interprets that, sends out the red flag, and our bodies then decide they've got to fight this some way, right? Fight, flight, freeze. So what happens? Well, whether we're going to whether we're going to flee or whether we're going to stay and fight, our bodies are going to need certain things to happen to survive. One is we're going to have to see much better, right? So what happens is our pupils dilate. Why do they dilate? They want to let more light in, right? Better light, better vision. Our heart rate and our blood pressure increases. We got to start pumping all that blood out, okay? Because our body's getting ready to do something. Our blood vessels are going to constrict. They need to divert the oxygen to the muscle groups. We oftentimes become diaphoretic, which is clammy, or you call it sweaty, whatever you want to call it. Our body starts to really respond to this. And like I said, our hypothalamus is sending out the order, send in the stress hormones. And in comes these lovely things called cortisol and adrenaline. And boy, in a moment when we need them, they're going to save us. But long term, guys, we're going to be like those mice and those lab rats if we don't take the time to really pay homage to, recognize that we're under stress, and use coping techniques. And everybody can go to different coping techniques because we're different. What works for one person is going to work for other. But let me tell you, and long-term stress in the long run, talk about depleting your immune system and depleting your ability to be resilient in a time like this. It's going to happen. So hence the conversation that we want to have today. So anybody recognizing some of the stress that may have come in a time like this? Has anybody experienced it or know somebody who's really been stressed out or just sad or off kilter? Yeah. Okay. Chris, are you seeing the screen yet or following along? Okay.
Following along.
Okay. And you know what, you guys, there's a, we're all experiencing these feelings that we're having. And I've come to really understand what we're going through, much like grieving, because we've lost, what have we lost? We can name them, right? The way we've interacted with people, there's a loss there. The way we can connect physically with people, there's been a loss there. Some people have actually lost jobs, lost people in their lives, right? We've lost what we've known so well and felt so comfortable with as our way of connecting with the world and living our lives. Okay. So people are going, what is all this noise in my head? Or why am I feeling funky? Why am I more likely to like snap at someone? Why am I feeling on edge? Part of it is because we're in grief response right now. Okay. And as we know, I'll talk to you a little bit about that, but, and nobody's calling it that. So we can't go, God, that's right. I'm experiencing loss right now. Okay. And, grappling any kind of loss, guys, it's a process. It's not, I go through each stage and I make it through and I come out on the end and I am whole and I am intact and I have that sense of agency back in my life. It doesn't always happen right away. It really is a process. There is this collective loss of normalcy and routine. And again, like some people have had real, I can touch it, I can point to it, I can name it, loss in their lives. I think through people that I work with and in my life, I know a lot of people that have lost loved ones or loved ones who've become very ill and still are very ill. So in terms of them having to manage the changes in their life, they're actually having to go through that grief process. It's kind of double indemnity, and we're really trying to figure it out, navigate a way to deal with this. Grief brings up so much. It brings up questions. It brings up thoughts about our own mortality. We feel a little bit more ungrounded when new and unexpected or untoward situations come our way, or complicated, kind of quirky situations. We might not feel as resilient or readily responsive to them. So, and guys, I'm going to say it, and I don't want to say it to bring out, it's par for the course, so just pull yourself up by the bootstraps and move on. That's not what I mean by it, but this is normal right now. For someone to feel anxious, sad, off kilter, it's normal. We're all experiencing this. And it shows its face in so many different ways, but we're all working through this or trying to work through this. Just wanted to do a little ditty on just both grief and what I call anticipatory grief. And then let's take a look and let's chat a little bit about where everybody's at and what experience have they had or their friends had, okay? Because I do want to open it up a little bit. Grief has those stages. I kind of put 7 stages to it, but it's, first you're in denial. I've got to be honest with you, when this thing first started, I tend to go into denial first, and I know that about myself. I'm like, oh, this is baloney. And I remember hearing about that it was around in China, and I think the next place was, I want to say Spain. I could be wrong, but I'm thinking, that's not going to come here. That's the problems that they have there. In China, they're the SARS, the MERS, that's been around, and we've seen that in the past years. And I thought, this isn't even going to come here. And then all of a sudden, I got a text message, and it was probably a month in to me having heard about China. And it was a friend of mine texting me or showing me like a little clip from, it was either YouTube or I think it was Twitter, at West Haven. I live in Milford, but in West Haven, they had their first case, and all of a sudden, I'd lost my breath, and I thought, oh my God, this is here, Ram. This is here, and it's going to make a change. It's going to mean a lot. I don't even know what it's going to mean, but it took me a while to really get my head out of the sand, right? And then the next stage you kind of go through is you get a numbness about it, right? And then we go through that, this is the stage I stick in there, is the actual pain of it, right? And we'll talk a little bit about that. And then you're in the pain, and then you start kind of finding your ground, if you will, and you start coming to a bit of an acceptance, or at least you start living the way you need to live to get through. So there's movement there, right? And we move to acceptance, and then of course we move through, and we kind of embrace that and move our lives on. But the important thing is here, guys, sometimes people get stuck. Number one is the stages are not, I'm sorry, the stages aren't just straight on ahead. We bounce back and forth between them. And to this day, if anything or any of those symptoms or feelings that I was talking about, you might not have them one day, or for a couple of days, you might feel like, I've got this. It's going to be all good. And then you have something happens, a trigger, or nothing happens. And the next day you're like, why do I feel like I don't even want to get out of bed or deal with those phone calls? Why am I short? Why am I not interested or as engaged in my family or my work? That's us going through these stages. And why is it that some of us, or sometimes we feel like, when is the next shoe going to fall? We get this like impending feeling of, it's this uncomfortable feeling of kind of not knowing what's coming next. It's just a very uncomfortable, hard to kind of articulate feeling. Guys, you know what that is? That's the anticipatory grief, because we don't know what's coming next. People say, oh, well, at least that person knew what was coming. In terms of when we look at chronic illnesses and stuff, well, it's good because they knew the person was ill, and they got to speak to the person and really close out some chapters and what have you. So when that person passes on, for instance, they might be in a better place. So sometimes I think it's this anticipatory grief. When people are able to experience it, it can actually help them. And sometimes it does. But that feeling that you have when you can't name it as such is excruciating. You're like, what is going on with me that I'm feeling this way? It's grief stages or anticipatory grief, not knowing what's coming next. Very disconcerting. It really ungrounds us quite a bit. So before I go on to the next slide, can any of you guys share with me experience you've heard people have had and have shared with you? Chris or Kate or Jess?
I'll share. This is Jillian.
Hi, Joanne.
I know, just me personally, I have felt like pressure on my chest before the restaurants had opened up in the center of town, and I drove through the streets, and it was just people walking like in single file with masks on, kind of like when you're in the grocery store.
Yeah. Like
the pressure on my chest, just seeing that, and no one's talking to each other and making eye contact. It was just that was really heavy for me. That was a moment of like, oh my God, this is really happening.
Yeah. Did you feel like you were in the Twilight Zone, or was it just this profound hit?
Yeah. I mean, at this point, I'm used to it at the grocery store. I hate to say that because it's,
we got to go.
It is what it is. But yeah, to drive through, and I'm glad to see the restaurants have opened some outdoor seating, and it feels like things are starting to get a little bit back to that new normal. But yeah, for me, that was the moment of time, because I would say I probably had some denial in the beginning. As we were saying in the beginning, I actually left the state at the beginning of this. I went to California, which was in worse shape than we were.
They were ahead, right?
Yeah, they were. Yeah, I was on the Vegas Strip when they closed the casinos. I mean, so I was traveling all over that area as this was happening. And I was really, probably denial is a great word for what I was thinking in terms of coming home to all of this and saying, well, I'm just going to quarantine on the West Coast. Meanwhile, my mother is panicking. And, you know, figuring out, well, we'll just drive home. If they close
A road trip.
if they ground all the planes, we'll just drive home. So yeah, I would say probably that would be a good term for, you know, beginning stages of this. But that moment when I drove through the center, that was where I had this aha, scary, really scary feeling.
It's very interesting too, but thank you. It's very interesting too that you said, did you actually get that pressure on your chest? You felt that pressure? Okay.
Yes. Like a weight
Really?
on my chest.
God, how visceral, huh?
Mm-hmm.
How visceral. And our bodies, I won't go into a long, because I want you guys to talk, but our bodies we're all energy, everything around us and in our body, we're energy. And boy, we will get energy trapped where we feel it the most. And in that moment, you probably felt a little brokenhearted, and it must felt a little bit hard to breathe, because you did have a profound moment where you realized things weren't the same and just how different it was. So I thank you so much for sharing that. Chris, I saw you unmute before. I didn't know if you wanted to speak.
No, I muted because I've got somebody weed whacking about 10 feet from me. So.
Oh, don't you love it? Every time I go to do a presentation, the helicopters come, the weed whacking starts, major construction. Yeah. So annoying.
I'm gonna mute until he moves to the backyard.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Katie or Jesse, not to put you on the spot, but is any of this, are you connecting to this in terms of the feelings that have come up? Or?
Yeah, I'll definitely say for me, for sure, there have been, I think Kate knows, I was in some level of denial in the beginning. Some level of, this will all work out, it'll be fine, like it'll be a little crazy for a couple of weeks, but we'll manage, we'll be okay. Like my family's
full on panic mode right from the get-go. So we were at like opposite ends of this. And it was all
Really?
Yeah, which was really interesting. But I will say recently, well, in the beginning of the situation, probably about 2 weeks in, was the most difficult part for me. Kind of getting used to this sort of routine of the kids being home all day with me and trying to work from home and ramping up what we're doing with the chamber and stuff like that. And I'll say personally, from the perspective of knowing myself and knowing how I start to react to things, I immediately started to see the rabbit hole that I was headed down. And so I got in touch with my primary care immediately and talked about meds and got on meds, and because I was like, there's no foreseeable end to this future. There's no light at the end of this tunnel right now. And yeah. I'm not going to sign myself up for going down the spiral when I know that I can stop from going down the spiral. Right. So,
right.
So I did that pretty quickly.
Good. And you know what? Great self-care. And
yeah.
you must be, you're intuitive, like you're kind of that emotional intelligence, you know, things are happening in you when they're happening before someone from the outside has to tell you.
Yeah, well, I think it started, well, Kate and I have talked about this, but both of us, when we had kids, it takes us getting out of the situation to realize we were in the situation. But through that, I think, you know, with postpartum and all of that kind of stuff, I started to understand what I was looking at and when things were going south. So like, it's easier now for me, you know, 6 years later, that I'm able to say like, okay, I'm starting to get snippy. I'm starting to get impatient. I'm starting to get like this low level rage that there's no validation for, there's no reason for it.
Yeah.
And I can start picking up on things and I'm just generally off. And I'm like, all right, I know what's happening. Let's handle this now.
Yeah. What happens sometimes, Jess, like if I were a fly on the wall, right? Or if there were a nanny cam, how would I see that in you? What would others see? What did your stress or anxiety look like in the outside world? And would somebody be able to say, oh, Jess, are you okay? I'm worried about you. Or was this something that was just trapped?
I think it's a little bit of both. So I think it's easy for folks who know me to be able to see when the eye rolls get more extensive and the sighs and the and the general like annoyance, or like with the kids, you know, being like, guys, come on, like this isn't that hard, just, you know, just do this, or, you know, if we just do it, we get it done, or come on, or like my irritation with like when I have my messy house, right? I have a 5 and 6 year old and a small apartment. And so when I walk in, if things are not like at least reasonably clean, I start getting like, it goes right up my back and I start going, we need to clean this. Like this needs to happen. And so I start getting antsy. So from outward, I think it is very much like a snippy, impatient, angry tone. And it's not sad. It's not like I want to stay in bed all day, but it's that anger. Like I feel angry all the time.
Yeah. You probably have a vibe that kind of surrounds you, this swirly kind of curly cued energy that's just kind of popping. That's so uncomfortable, Jessie.
Yeah.
That's so uncomfortable.
Yeah. So
I'm just feeling it right now. That's really uncomfortable.
It is, but it's good to know, you know, it's good to be able to pay attention when it happens and be able to try to at least curb it so that I know the certain ways to deal with it. And I know, you know, even on meds, there are those moments, right, that hit that, like you said, the acceptance stages are not, you know, one and done. It's something that you go through it every once in a while, or you go through it every day, or whatever the way it works for you. But for me, it's like certain things pop up. Like my son's teacher texted me asking me if we had enough Chromebooks for next year when my daughter goes to kindergarten. So I was like, wait a minute, does this mean you're planning on doing distance learning next year? Hang on, hold the phone, what? And like, I went into this like, oh God, no mode. And like, that kind of threw me again. And that day I was just like, I had to go in for a tour of my Y, all this stuff that just really like hit home. And I was just like, oh man. And I got like overwhelmingly sad again. And I was like, okay, but it's okay. You know what? Like, we're okay. We have our health, we have our family, we have support. We have work that I can do from home. I'm so thankful for my coworkers. I'm thankful for my friends. Like, remember what you're grateful for, and we can keep breathing and keep moving.
Beautiful. Yeah, because think about all that energy, right? If that's how it comes up for you, all that swirling energy, right? Yeah. So when you're one person, we're in that moment, that energy funk got trapped here. With you, it swirls, right? And inside, I wouldn't be surprised if you almost feel sometimes like you want to get out of your own body because it's all this swirling. So anything on the outside that's going to poke it a little bit, your horse is going to go, right?
Yep.
But what I hear you saying, which is wonderful, is you're looking at, number one, you're noticing that, right? You're remembering, come on back. Look at what you're grateful for, right? Come on back. Remember to breathe. Okay. And use some deep breathing. Come on back. I need to see the doc because this is chemical.
Yeah.
Right? It's about the dopamine. It's about your serotonin. And what happens sometimes, and sometimes it's because of stress, sometimes not, is we get this serotonin that floods our brain, right? It's a neurotransmitter. It floods our brain. That's our feel-good chemical. Okay. So we like that. Too much of it, not good. But the right amount of it, wonderful, right?
Right.
Sometimes under stress, what happens is our brains, not our brains, a brain doesn't really actively do that, but our neurotransmitters, such as dopamine and serotonin, get reabsorbed too quickly. It's almost like the body's sucking it back in to save it for later. It's the way when we don't take in enough calories, our bodies will store fat, right, for survival. Some people's brains just kind of go whoop, and so those feel-good neurotransmitters aren't out there to help us experience joy or pleasure, right? And so you just become a big chemical reaction, really. And sometimes the medication can help so we can start really incorporating those other coping skills. Because when you're swirling too much, you need to get a manage on that piece first. Sometimes not. But congratulations, Jess, because you've saved yourself. You saw it, you recognized it, and you took action. And that's not an easy thing to do. It sounds easy, but it's not. It's not.
I just like to say, I have an interesting occurrence in my own mental health. So one of my historically self-aware signs that I'm slipping out of stability has always been social withdrawal. I get too tired of putting on a happy mask face, or I'm afraid I'm going to be burdening my friends, so I just kind of stay away from them. And in this scenario, it was like, okay, is the social distancing causing me to be depressed, or is my depression causing me to further withdraw from my friends? And my brain didn't know which direction I was going in with this. It was a very unusual circumstance.
Yeah. It was probably a little both.
Yeah.
But so you're experiencing this on top of it. It's not making much sense. Like is it the cart before the horse? And so what end do I work on here?
Exactly.
Yeah, you must have felt very fatigued at that time. That's really tiring.
It is,
Like,
absolutely.
yeah. Yeah. So, and then you're going, okay, am I fatigued because I'm depressed? Am I fatigued because I'm just fatigued? Is there something wrong with me medically?
Yeah.
So then you just start questioning where all this is coming from, and you get so lost on it, you can almost get paralyzed.
Yes.
So how did you do? How did you work with it?
So we actually started having social distance barbecues here in my neighborhood. We have some really great neighborhood friends, and so we would, everybody would bring their own food and their own beverages, and we'd all space each other around the backyard. And so I was able to reestablish those social connections, and it helped on both sides of that equation. So
beautiful.
That was really helpful for me.
Beautiful. I almost get this picture when you were talking of, and I don't know why, but I can't see you. Like, it's okay if you don't have your camera turned on, but I can't even see you in my dialogue box. I did before, now I don't. That's so strange. Oh wait, sorry, shame on me.
There's an error.
Yep, there we go. I had to expand the screen. But really interesting is with everything that's going on, and Jillian, like with our I guess our attempting and working through and trying to get our legs kind of back on the ground again and feeling this connection. I wouldn't be surprised right now if people are experiencing moments of moments of kind of expansion, which is expansion socially, energy wise, creativity wise, what have you, even motivation wise, and periods of what I call contraction. I think of it like as a slinky, how it goes shunk and then comes back in and then goes shunk, because we have so much going on, right? And so much moving through our, just on the outside world that has to be moved through our brains and our nervous system, that I wouldn't be surprised at all if some people do experience those moments of expansion and contraction, even during one day. Do you get any sense of that at any time, Jillian, especially with the way that energy thing works with you? Or Jess, even?
Were you responding to me about the social aspects?
Yeah, I see, like when you were saying that you didn't know, you kind of felt yourself like isolating and you weren't sure which end it was coming from.
Yeah.
It's very natural sometimes too. A natural part of when we're trying to absorb all this new stuff and what was going on with COVID and the changes and going through this grief, sometimes we expand and contract. Mm-hmm. And sometimes we just go in and it feels really hard, that world out there, like we just want to go in our rooms, or we're not reaching out to people, even our kids, maybe we're not as interactive with them. And then there's other times, because we move through these stages so differently, that we're expanding and all of a sudden we're open, a little bit more open, a little bit more energetic, more likely to make a phone call to someone we haven't seen in a couple of days or talked to or thinking about.
Yeah,
so
it's like a pendulum for me.
Yeah, I would say I agree with that, because I'm for sure I'm an extroverted introvert, so like a lot of like my job is perfect normally because getting out and going to networking events and being able to see people on a regular basis and meet people and get to know them, but then being able to return home and do my own thing and be alone is really important to me too. So this whole thing threw everything out of whack, because I'm now not able to interact with friends or other like business people, but I'm stuck at home where my kids need me 24/7. So I've found that like neither of my like requirements are being filled in that setting.
Right.
So I have to like I've started doing like Zoom calls with friends. We also had like a social distancing party wherever it's like a BYOE party. Everyone brings their own stuff, bring everything. And we've been able to at least be far enough away in that case, but have a conversation. And that I try to, when my husband is home a day a week, to take a couple of hours and just go out. Like if it's nice out, like I try to just go to the park and bring a book and just sit by myself entirely, so the kids are not there going mom, 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 mom the whole time.
Oof, yeah.
So that's a good way that I've kind of found that, like, okay, I'm getting out and I'm getting in.
That's beautiful. So you recreated it for yourself.
I tried.
It looks a lot different, but you put those opportunities for both.
Yeah.
You're very creative. I love it. Absolutely love it, Jess.
Okay.
I just time checked you guys. Sorry, you guys, it's very informal. I'm sorry. But everybody, I did a time check and we don't have a ton of time left. I want to keep talking to you. Do you want to we want to run and go through the helpful hints and just talk about who's using what? How would you like to spend the rest of our time? We could do questions and answers. We could do sharing.
Katie, did you want to say something? I saw you kind of leaning in.
No, I forget. I think I'm good. I think I'm good.
I think helpful hints would be good.
I agree.
Okay.
I'd love to see your help.
I agree.
Okay,
I
so
know,
let's do
a couple
that
of us
for
on the call are in health and wellness field, so anything that we can also bring to our clients and customers would be super helpful.
Wonderful. I'm gonna make one quick qualifying on this slide I have here. Is there's a difference between these feelings that you guys are talking about and when to know that it's a disorder. If you just take a quick look there, anxiety, feeling some sadness, fear, recreational drugs, that's never something we want to go to, and lost your appetite. Don't necessarily have to be this disorder you now have. These can be very situationally related, but if your anxiety, if any of them is severely impacting you in any way, you need to reach out and get help quickly. Okay. And if you're even thinking about, oh, is this a problem for me now? If you're questioning it, reach out and get help. Okay. Whether it's your primary care physician or self-help groups, there's warm lines, and I put some of that at the end. Okay. So we'll move on. So let's put the wheels in motion and run through some ideas, and then you guys can share some too. Okay. One is, and I'm not talking about drinking an entire box of Joe from Dunkin' Donuts, but just tidbit that a small bit of, I love green tea, is great for you, or a little bit of coffee just rates. Number one is it gives you a little bit of a boost. Some people drink orange juice and get it from the sugar. 6 one, half dozen the other, as long as it's in moderation, but they do link it to lower rates of depression. Guys, we know this. We've got to take a break from the media. It's inundating us, and it's different stories going on. It depends what news channel you watch. So our feelings go from rage to, I can't believe this is happening, and they're going up on the other end, depending even between Channel 5 and the local news. So, like, give yourself a break from it. There's always a ticker tape running across the TV. Please don't inundate yourself, especially online. We know when you're there, walk away. Huge, huge, huge is about the body and taking deep breaths. It's the first thing to go when we're experiencing stress. We begin not breathing. We're either holding our breath, taking very shallow, ineffective breaths, or doing what I call, which is backwards breathing. When you're breathing in, which should be through your nose, we should be expanding like a balloon, okay? So our lower abdomen area, picture it blowing up. When we're exhaling, which should be through the mouth and long, okay, we should be flattening the balloon. So you do use that visual to make sure you're getting those breaths in. Using your nose is wonderful. It's going to relax, it's going to tell the parasympathetic nervous system. What it does is it triggers it. It's going to allow your lungs to relax. Relaxed lungs are going to take a much nicer breath than non-relaxed, okay? We know that food and nutrition is huge. It's huge in our body chemistry, i.e. our inside is going to impact our outside. Our outside is going to impact our inside. We are an integrated experience, all of it. Finding times to find solace, solitude, and quiet, huge. If you're busy during the day, take your take your lunch, number one, and not at the computer. Walk away. Do those 10, 15-minute breaks. Move your body. Move your muscles. Okay? Get that energy flowing again. Clear your mind. You'll be so much more productive for the rest of the day. We know that. Guys, drugs and alcohol, and I'm talking about misuse, okay? Obviously, you take your medication as prescribed, and you can have a couple cocktails, but the drugs and alcohol piece, when we're using it to mask or numb pain or numb a part of this kind of grief journey that you're going through, or anticipatory grief, we're not going to feel it. And as soon as we take the drugs or alcohol away, we are raw, and it is there happily awaiting our attention, right? If we numb it, you know, I say oftentimes moving through the pain can be very excruciating, but it won't kill us, and we won't dry up, fall apart, and go away. We have to move through it to get through it. If you're setting up that wall, okay, and numbing out, it's going to happily await the moment you're not numbing out anymore. It's still going to be there, right? And then you're going to have to deal with the consequences of using drugs and alcohol. So it just complicates matters and makes it so much more difficult. Again, I'm going to say this over and over again: move your body. They say it: move your body, move a muscle, change a thought. Get your body going. Get those endorphins flying around. It gives you a sense of agency and a sense of constructive movement. Great way to get that extra energy out. Go dig in the garden. That way you're connecting with the earth at the same time you're getting great exercise and getting a little bit of vitamin D. Okay? Sleep, guys. Cool. Keep it cool. I know not everybody likes it cool. You do get, they say, a better night's sleep with things on the cooler side rather on the warmer side. And this is different for everybody, but sleep is huge. We know what happens when we're depleted. You know, this time, this day and age, guys, it's all about resiliency, right? And that's our normal response to stress or to untoward events. We have to make sure we're keeping our glass full, guys, to still have that resiliency to bounce back. Okay? You guys are doing really great with it. You're connecting. We need the connection. Connection might look a little bit different, but sometimes when we're starting to contract again and it's not feeling right, make yourself pick up the phone and just dial it. Connect with somebody. First person you could think of, just make the connection, okay? Other thing is sharing, talking to people, okay? We are in this kind of collective, there's this collective experiencing that we're all going through. There's no shame in it. We're all feeling it. Talk, connect with people around it. Showing love to someone, even someone who you haven't shown love to in a long time, or you don't even think you're going to get a response from, do it because it's in your heart, okay? And if it serves you and you want to show love with no expectations, do it. Reconnect with someone you've been thinking about and just haven't spoken to. Give back, help out. What can we do in our communities? What can we do with our neighbors? What can we do for those that are less fortunate to help them? Hanging out with a pet, best ever. Yeah, best ever. What a moment to just be, you know? And even that experience of gently stroking them, looking in their eyes, because there's such honesty and integrity there, right? They don't want anything from us but love. What? Purr.
I'm a cat person.
Yes.
and purrs, like, there's proven like fact about the frequency that cat purrs are at that is like a de-stressor.
Oh, do you know that there are times that I will put my ear to my cats? It's probably the diaphragm area, but they can't quite figure out exactly where it comes from.
I know.
And I just want to feel it.
Uh-huh.
You
Same.
know, sometimes I wish people would purr.
I do too. I wish dogs would too.
Yeah.
Because that would make me like them more.
I think, yeah, I think it's beautiful. It's this thing that happens. It's a vibration, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And we do feel that from people, but I just love the way the cats are right out there with it, right?
I know, it's cool.
Yep. I think I'm envisioning Chris. I don't, he had this smile on his face. Like I'm sitting next to somebody and it's like, I can hear you. Okay. Beautiful, guys. Let's look at what we have. Take your strengths and do something you're good at, because guess what? We're all brilliant people, just in different ways. Do something you're good at. Share that something in any way you can to help somebody else, right? I don't care if it's gardening, reading aloud. I know the other day I helped someone, this elderly woman, I was at, I forget, a drugstore. I'll make this really quick. She woke up to me. She asked for a ride home because she lived like 3 blocks down and she wasn't supposed to go to the store per her children, but she did. She didn't know how she was going to get the bags back. She just took her little cart and she looked really kind of concerned. I went up to her and said, "Can I help you?" I ended up giving her a ride home. And she said, "Shh, don't tell my daughters." They'll be so mad at me. Anything we could do to help people, right? Paint, write down thoughts, start a journal, and don't even, no pressure. I'm just gonna write down what I'm feeling right now because I want to look at that 3 months from now and see where I was, see where I've, how far I've come. There's so many cool virtual tours to the national parks. They're free of charge. Of course, you need some kind of Wi-Fi and electronic tool to get there, but way to get away, right? Tiny piece of little bit of dark chocolate or a little bit of a treat, beautiful. Get lost in the moment. We all deserve them. I see it's a lot of stuff here around exercising, moving our money. If people have a bathtub, a nice bathtub. Mine's not a great one, so I don't use it, but Epsom salts. Light the candles, shut off the lights, put the great music on, float. You know, how about the floating centers? I think somebody on here, there you go. Yeah. Beautiful, magnificent. What a beautiful gift to give yourself.
I'm running at Float 41, so
there you go.
Look forward to getting in there and giving it a try.
Yep, absolutely beautiful. And if you have a shower, you still put the lights down, light the candles, right? Get a little aromatherapy going. Put on that music. They actually have some of these tablets that have lavender or what have you, scented kind of essential oil tablets. Enjoy your time.
Yep.
Those with kids.
We have one of those on here too. That's Jillian. Jillian's a doTERRA.
Where? Oh, look at me. I'm hitting
Jillian's a doTERRA person.
Perfect. Absolutely perfect. How about this one, Jesse? I was thinking about you. Declutter. It doesn't have to be a huge project, but when you walk into an area that's cluttered, your mind doesn't like it very much. You know, your eyes see it first, then it gets processed. And if we can, or when we get a feeling of kind of semblance of order, even if we can't get to diving deep into the drawer, let's get the space around us organized somewhat, right? We got to be kind to each other, kind to ourselves and not overload, but start with just picking up what's around you. Then deal with the actual reorganizing, right? Get your space kind of feeling good for you. I have many people here that are working remotely from home, and we all had to choose our space because we were getting really mad at each other at first. Like, I chose the kitchen. What was I thinking? It's the hub of the house, right? And I'm complaining that like I can't get privacy and people are noisy. Well, I set myself up for failure. So I found this, it's in my house, but we have a room that we're redoing. Nobody's in the room. And I set up a table, and at first it had just some tablecloth color. I couldn't do that. I went out and got one of those cheap plastic bright tablecloths. I put a little tree there. A couple little things, just brighten my space up. Beautiful. Guys, watching TV, music, and I don't mean watching Fox News or what have you, CNN. I mean just some of those feel-good shows, you know, Turner Classics. I don't know, whatever people like. It's wonderful. Get lost in a book. How many people have picked up a book recently? Good, Jess. Okay. They take you away. You get lost right in it. The characters' lives. Beautiful. Pick it up if you haven't. Coloring, art. Oh, how the Irish. Beautiful. Beautiful, Jess. That is gorgeous. So you guys are rocking and rolling, right? Hey, how about this one? Laughter yoga. In other countries, it's really funny because you're looking at and watching it at first, and you're going, this is really bizarre. And then before you know it, you're laughing too. There are so many great things. And God, there are the virtual exercise classes online. There's a plethora of things out there. Just try to stay away from the negative. And guess what's really cool sometimes? See this thing? Put it away. Put it away. Put your away messages on and just put it away. Disconnect. When you're not at work, and unless you're on call or there's a situation where you have to remain available, put it away. You've got other friends out there. It's a beautiful thing. It's so freeing. Hey, when you have to get your housework done, and I don't want to create a visual for you guys, But I jam on music and I'm moving because if I have to clean my house, I want to get my exercise done too, all at the same time. Now I have been caught in very embarrassing dances by family members, but they've forgiven me and nobody's called for help yet. So I think I'm okay. How about self-affirmations? How about writing a little good thing about ourselves every morning when we wake up on a sticky note? I don't care. Take out your lipstick and write it on the mirror if you want to. Something about, I can, I'm wonderful, right? Write whatever you can on there and go check it out when you're having a bad moment during the day. It's beautiful stuff. Gratitude, Jesse, you're doing the work. You're doing the work. Note your gratitude. Take a moment and go, whoa, halt the horse that has galloped away into negative world or, nasty world, wherever we don't like to go. Pull it back, picture it, pull it back. Whoa, what am I doing right now? Wow, what does my body feel like? Oh, I feel like I have pressure in my chest. Okay, let's check it, right? First, we'll make sure we're not having a heart attack, of course, but really stop for a minute. Where am I holding? What does my body feel like? Is there a part of my body right now that's hot or warm? Is there a part that's cold? Our bodies give us messages all the time that we don't listen to. Listen to it. Get up and move yourself. Do your breathing. Hey, you know what? Set up a vacation for 3 months, 4 months from now. They said, and studies have been done, that when you decide you're going to take a vacay and set it up, you can just boost your well-being for at least an 8-week period of time. We are moving forward. Life is moving forward. We will be going places again, right? The light's here. We don't know what color, but it's here and we're going to be here, right? And guys, we also have it, and I know you do too, visit our website, mcon.org /alone together. We have tons of resources out there. Let me go to the next slide, 211. Let me go to this slide and then I'll back up, okay? Take a look, guys. If you or someone you know is a danger, okay? You know it in your soul and in your gut. Get them help. Get them help. We've got the suicide prevention hotline. Call 911. Hey, you're better off loving somebody and getting them checked out and it being fine than thinking, oh, I don't want to do that, help up, and them not being fine, okay? SAMHSA, their website has some beautiful stuff on it. There's crisis text lines out there, okay? Don't be afraid to reach out for help, and don't be afraid to say to somebody, can we check in? I'm worried about you. And then listening and hearing what they have to say and really checking in with that, okay? Children, guys, they get our vibe. They get our energy. They feel it. We need to take care of ourselves to remain resilient and whole as we walk through this journey, right? Let your kids talk about their feelings. Ask things that they might have been able to do in the past that have helped just a little bit. So we're working on them developing skills, but also giving them some tools. Deep breathing is wonderful, Worry bags, have them put their worries down in a bag before they go to bed. And then you go in, you yourself or with your husband or your partner or what have you, take the bag away, because most of the things they're going to put in the bag are adult worries, right? So we can take those from them. And then the next day, the beauty of it is it clears their mind for night. They're seeing that they have people in their lives that are going to manage the adult stuff, right? So symbolically, you're taking that, right? But the next day, you can then decide to talk to them about it, really work through some of it with them, decide which pieces they just decide they want to bury or get rid of. So it really helps them not only deal with the stress, but it helps them gain some kind of just some sense of, hey, I got some things I can draw upon in myself that can help me with this. Keep them to a schedule and be honest and accurate. Just make sure that you have tempered. Don't go to them when you're in reaction. Go to them once you've had some time with it and been able to process through. Okay? Yeah, and looks like we're going a little bit over. I just wanted to open it up to comments, questions.
Let's hear from some of the
thought-
folks who haven't spoken yet. So I don't know if Sarah or Katie or anyone else that's on here, Susie, wanna throw anything into if you've got anything to say.
I guess for me, I was just Jillian and I have been having a little chat going on, and I was just commenting that I'm panicking that I have to like start putting real pants on and going out in the world, and I'm like, oh, they don't fit, so I need to lay off the ice cream a little bit. So yeah, so I guess it's just one more thing to. Thanks. Now I want cookies.
Right.
So it's just, I feel like I kind of like, I want to say got over or had my like, I'm going to say a bad word and sorry, like my, oh shit, this is real. Pretty early on. I have a cousin who is a nurse in Boston. And she had posted a picture from the ICU unit that she works in, and they're all like, head to toe with the so it kind of hit home of like, yeah, all right, this is real in the very early in April. So I'm like, all right, I've sort of come to terms with that, like, this is how serious this is, and doing everything I can to take care of myself and make sure I don't get sick. But I feel like recently, like social media has really been stressing me out because so much going on, not just with COVID, but just like all of the crappy stuff that's been going on in the world. It just like is stressing me out, and I'm having a hard time putting the social media away. So so anyway, just eat ice cream, and that makes me feel better. And until I have to put clothes on and that kind of thing. So anyway, that's where I am.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing. I think there's this kind of collective giggle that, and it's giggle only because we could cry or giggle. Sometimes people giggle. It's going to be like, it's not the freshman 15, it's the COVID 15. It's the COVID 15.
Well,
and it is.
What Jillian said.
Yeah. And you know what? The beauty of that is we can just slowly make changes to back away from it. And it's not easy, but increase your movement and decrease. And you know what? Doesn't mean you can't have ice cream. Do less ice cream, or tell yourself, I'll do it every other day. Just small things. Because the other day, I totally get it. The other day I was like, I better put a pair of jeans on because I've been doing the sweats, the stretchies and what have you, and they're so forgiving. I was like, I better put that pair of jeans on just to check it because I'm not getting half as much exercise as I used to. Or the gym closed, and I'm going walking and stuff, but it's just not the same. Just not the same. So I get it.
I'm gonna point out women's jeans have elastic in them these days. So
Yes.
I'm just gonna say they're a lot more forgiving in general. You can always obtain stretchy jeans. Just putting that out.
Yes, I just feel like I need like one pair of like clam digger khaki kind of pants to like get me through, just so I can have like one pair of pants to like if I have to go into the office or something like that. I have like all of like my winter pants still fit, but like now that it's like gonna be 100 degrees, I don't want to wear those. Nope. So just one pair of like summer pants to like get me back on track. Anyway, that's that. I'll figure that out and
make sure you give yourself that gift. That's really important.
Stretch jeans are great though.
Yeah. They are, but even when the stretch ones are really forgiving. I think probably up to a pant size actually. But you know what? Not the time to beat yourself up or judge yourself for it. It is what it is, right? Learn, really kind of look back and learn. Think about what you learned from that. And so learn a little bit about yourself and how you cope and what works for you and what doesn't. And just take tiny steps.
I don't think
No
being
need, you know,
judgmental towards myself is helpful either. So that
Right.
just is like, oh, my pants don't fit. All right, now I'm gonna go eat ice cream and because I feel sorry for myself. That's just sort of perpetuates the cycle of like what's not good or helpful. So
I'm
just
glad you recognize that.
laying off the self judgment, I suppose.
Yep. We say some unkind things to ourselves a lot. And we need to, when we catch ourselves doing it, hug yourself and just say something kind instead.
You said something the other day that I really liked that I've heard before, but I think it bears repeating. Would you say what you say to yourself to a friend?
Yes.
So all the things
Yes.
that all the crappy things that you say to yourself, can you ever imagine ever saying them to a friend of yours, or
Yep.
you know, somebody, your niece or your nephew, or
Mhm.
you know, your family? And I think about my friends, and I would never say some of the things that I say to myself to any of my friends.
Right. And that's really sad. I feel when I think about that, it makes me sad, but also hopeful, because guess what? We can catch it and stop it. We can. We have this narrative in our head sometimes. It's just really ugly.
A few months ago, a few months back, when I was shopping for a trip, and I was texting with Jessie because I was actually in the changing room with my daughter. She's about to turn 8, and I was trying on bathing suits, and I'm looking at myself in the mirror, and I'm just judging the crap out of myself. And I start to say, I wish that what I wanted to say was, I wish that I had a flatter stomach, or I wish that I was 10 pounds lighter, or whatever was running through. And I caught myself because my daughter was literally watching and listening to what I was saying. And I like froze in the middle of the sentence. And she goes, "What do you wish, Mom?" And I was like, I wish that we could just buy all of these clothes today.
Oh,
Directions
beautiful.
to
Yeah.
my self-talk doesn't become her self-talk. And
Beautiful.
and what a weird moment that was for me. I literally texted Jessie on the spot, and I was like, "Oh my
Did you?
God."
That was beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was awesome.
That's so profound. That moment, right?
Yeah.
And it's just sometimes we just let these tapes run and we don't even do anything with them, and they just drag us down. And it's okay to go, whoa, whoa, what am I doing here? And say, no. And say something kind. I've actually stopped and actually wrapped my hands, it's like giving yourself a hug, and said, Remy, you've done nothing wrong. You've done nothing wrong.
Remy, I just want to add, this was so helpful for me because it allowed me to connect a lot of the dots. I've tried to do a lot of the right things that you suggested, like right from the get-go, because those were habits that I had already created. And where it helped me connect the dots is, and I'm looking at everybody on here, the business that are on here, all of them are in the business of helping people, and got tied together for me because my condition was I be for this, because if I can't be, then the businesses are going to be in trouble. I have a responsibility. I have a staff that we need to make sure we're keeping them as whole as possible. I have a household. I have a wife who also works out of the house, and all of that. And if the wheels go off my bus, there's bigger implications. So it was nice to be able to tie that together with the good habits, because those are the things be able to be important for other people and be available.
Oh, you froze. Yeah.
I am done. So
Okay, thank you, Chris. You just froze for a moment. So I was like, is he done or is he frozen? And you're right.
done.
I call it, we have to take care of the quarterback. And that's not selfish. It's self-care.
Right.
Guys, there's a big difference, Chris. really, there really is a big difference, and I get it. And, between family and your work with the chamber and everything that else goes on, you need to be number one. You need to take care of yourself so you can be there. So let's be careful, guys, what we're telling ourselves, okay?
I'm very fortunate because my wife and I, we understand that for each other. So that and I've worked with people that has not been the case, where they exist as isolated, and they're not working together on making sure that they're both doing it. It starts right at home. So my wife goes, I need to exercise every day, and I'll do it at 6 a.m. if I have to. I'll do it at 8 o'clock at the night, but it has to happen. I have to meditate for 20 minutes every day. It may happen at 2 p.m. It might happen at 10 o'clock at night. It might happen at 5 a.m, but it's got to happen. So I do need the 20 minutes, but that pays itself back in spades with the rest of the way you function.
Absolutely.
And benefits everybody.
It sure does.
I'm really glad that you brought up the food and nutrition piece. I'm a health coach and a graduate of the Raw Food Institute. And when you can eat living plants versus something that you've cooked in the microwave, your body responds extremely different to that. I've been fortunate. Katie and I were messaging about what we've been eating these last 3 months. I've been extremely fortunate because I am a gluten-free vegan who focuses on mostly whole foods and a lot of raw foods. So every time I went to the grocery store, I was completely stocked. I think the one time I couldn't get an organic eggplant, I ended up with a conventional eggplant. But otherwise, I'm not shopping in the frozen food section that was cleaned out. So that makes a huge difference to your mental capacity to handle these things, and physically, of course. And I will just give a quick plug to Sarah for being open, because, oh my gosh, when I couldn't get a massage and see my regular guy that does body work, I went in and I did a series of 3 floats in 10 days, 90-minute floats. The best thing I possibly could have done for myself, because it's that quiet time to just make your brain shut off. And it's amazing how floating allows that to happen. And I don't know anything else. Such an unusual thing. I've never heard of it before I met Sarah. It's such an unusual thing that, that's with all the media and everything that you mentioned, that's just the way I unplug now.
Yeah, that's beautiful. My husband had got a package for 3 floats, and I have been dying to try it. Just dying to get there. So I'm going to be a visitor.
Highly recommend it.
Thank you, Jillian. Thank you. Any other questions or anything else anybody wants to share? I want to just thank you again for inviting me, and I really, really enjoyed getting to know you. And thank you so much for sharing parts of your experience and parts of yourself. And if you want to have another venue to check in, let me know. We could do a check-in. I have fun with these. I really enjoy them. So thanks again for having me today.
Thank you so much. That was really insightful and educational. And I think everybody, I speak for myself, but I think everybody else would agree that I really learned a lot from this presentation. So I really do appreciate you being here for us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Very, very welcome. Have a great day.
Thank you.